especially Nigerians, we have this idea that it is always better when you're no longer in Nigeria. So like
so when they just come with this promise of a better promised land being there, and it's best actually look good. Most of them, they look very good, and they even they give you money. They're already thinking about your future, like what am I going to do with my life? And somebody just come and tell you, hold this $500 first. Then imagine what will happen to you when you go abroad.
Which also brings me to suicide. A lot of them just for the few of them that don't get killed wherever they're trafficked to, they just, when they come out, they just lose this sense of belonging. They're like, what else can I do with my life? Especially for those that were seeking for a better future. So in their heads, they're just like,
talk about even the mental problems they go through, the PTSD, the nightmares.
Welcome to the Timeline Show.
Hi there, welcome to another episode of our Timeline podcast. As you must have noticed, we try our very best on Timeline to discuss topics that require urgent attention from you and I in order to create a better living environment for all. I'm Jennifer Egenti. Precious is also here. Hi Precious, how you doing?
I'm fine, Jennifer. How are you?
I'm doing very well. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Pleasure's always mine.
So today we're discussing human trafficking. Well, according to the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, human trafficking is a global crime that trades in people and exploits them for profit.
Absolutely. It is also described as the recruitment, transportation, transfer or harboring of people through force, fraud or deception with the aim of exploiting them for profit.
Do you know how absurd it is that you will just sit down in your house and plan on how you go to somebody else's house and take their child or their parents or somebody and then send them to a foreign land. Just for them to be used for different really bad purposes.
Maybe like, to work for you or
the time they are using to plan, you know, the things you would have thought about.
Achieved.
Even you can even use the 3 months and even learn how to sew and do something with your life. But then you're actually harming other people, hurting them. And it's very nice that international organizations are really paying attention to this. They're making sure to explain these things in a way that nobody after watching this episode
will
say
you'll not be
they don't know what human trafficking is, or how to, like, you know, this is someone, how to, you know,
identify that you're being trafficked.
Yes. So they divided it into 3 different elements: the act, the means, and the purpose. Now, the act element of human trafficking is met when the trafficker recruits, harbors, transports, provides, or obtain a person for labor or services. So this is basically the process they go to, you know, to get this person. They recruit them, they probably even like transport them, they provide or obtain this person for labor or services.
Then the means refers to threat or force, coercion, fraud, deception, abuse of a position of vulnerability, abduction, blackmail, or removal of official documents. This is basically how they obtain these people, how they receive, how they get them. They can use threats, they can just deceive them, you know, coerce them and say there's a better future for you ahead, or tell them, or for instance now, like a musician or somebody that is probably growing in your field or your career, they just tell you can be better abroad. Normally, especially Nigerians, we have this idea that it is always better when you're no longer in Nigeria. So like
so when they just come with this promise of a better promised land being there, and it's best actually look good. Most of them, they look very good, and they even they give you money. You get like those are the processes.
Imagine somebody giving you dollars and telling you that you get more of this
where you're and going to. You that have probably don't even know probably what you will eat the next day, or even you that are already thinking about your future, like what am I going to do with my life, and somebody just come and tell you, hold this $500 first. Then imagine what will happen to you when you go abroad. They will not even tell you this thing or what you have to do. They'll just tell you this is what you will do. Sometimes when you not even get there, now you mentioned they will seize your identity documents. You know, they coerce you psychologically, just try and like sometimes they even get you addicted to substances. That way now you that are supposed to be running from them, you now need them.
Exactly.
Then we have the purpose element, which focuses on the perpetrator's goal to exploit a person's labor or services. There is no limit on the location or type of industry. This is like now that they have captured you, they have done everything, what they are doing, they are exploiting you. And there is no industry at all. There's no limit to where they will take you to, because people find themselves in agricultural fields, factories, restaurants, hotels, massage parlors, retail stores, fishing vessels, mines, private homes, or even drug trafficking. Now, like they've carried you out, Some of them, they even like open their body, they put drugs inside and have them traffic them. And these are like things like you have baby factories.
As you said factory, that was the first thing that came to my mind, because I remember reading an article where they said that they found some women, heavily pregnant women, with so many babies, taking care of them and all of that. Like there were provisions made to take care of the children. But then when they asked them why they were there and how they got there, said they were trafficked, and then they were like the people that trafficked them, they sleep with them, and make them pregnant and then they have to give birth, like, and over and over and
this
over.
This thing is actually very interconnected, because they don't just sell the babies to themselves. There are people that are involved in this.
Exactly.
You get like top officials that are probably involved in the sale of these babies too. And I see that this is actually something that really needs to be looked at. It really needs to
and it is recognized as a crime everywhere, in every country.
It's a global problem.
Exactly.
Because it rakes in a lot of money. Like it's actually to them it's very, very lucrative, but it's really bad because it affects a lot of people, and it comes in like different forms. You get like human trafficking. When they get you, they exploit you. They can use it for domestic service. Some of them are sent as slaves. To go and
workers.
Hey, when you reach there, these people, some of them actually probably end up in like probably good homes or so, but there are people that end up in places where they will walk and they have no even chance of even living, because we mentioned that some of them, they seize their identity documents. If you come out like that, deporting you straight, and deporting is not even easy. Deporting probably banning you from ever entering that country again. So there's domestic servitude. There's also like forced marriage. Some of them, they kidnap them and force them into marriages, like, and automatically stops their future, because no school, they don't want anybody to identify you. You are locked inside just doing manual labor forever until you're probably repatriated.
Speaking of labor, the victims, according to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, the victims are forced to work in factories or construction sites or in the agricultural sector without a pay or inadequate salary, because obviously you cannot just tell them that, oh, you want to take them to another country without promising them a good future. You promise them probably salary in dollars or salary in a particular currency that they feel like is better than the currency that their country is using. And then when you get to the country, they're probably not offering you anything, or they're probably making you overwork and receiving nothing at all. Or maybe they're even just beating you. Because some people, I think I was reading an article, and then they're like, most of these the people that actually traffic people, they just do this. Some of them don't even do it for money. Some of them do it just to feel good about themselves, just
for that power rush, that they are in control of something. How about you just get control and do something good for yourself and for the people around you? They even said 20% of human trafficking victims are children. So now these children are sent into early marriages, sent into forced domestic servitude. They are made like these children. They just cut their future. The children are supposed to be the pride of our generation. They're supposed to be the people that bring our future. And then next, they are cutting their future just for your own monetary gain or for your power rush.
Exactly. Which brings me to the UNODC's Global Report of 2022 on human trafficking. Finding 9 says that women and children suffer greater violence at the hand of traffickers. I was even reading an article few days back that was saying that most of these people that get trafficked, they're trafficked by people that they know, like a higher percentage are trafficked by people that they know. So imagine somebody being your safe space.
You get like somebody being your auntie, auntie is back, and the next thing is
imagine being vulnerable with somebody because you trust them. And then you're trafficked.
Like even I was reading one article on the UNODC site where like a woman now that she's running a survival-led organization, for people that have been trafficked, and I read her story, and she was like, she was, they were in a refugee camp. She just wanted to go to school. She now met a man, like the man, he was a pastor, he was the Bible, and she just felt like this was the only person she could trust because he preaches about God and everything. And then he was like, he can help her. He even told her not to tell anybody that the sport is just for one person. And she wanted to really go to school, and she knows if she tell people, everybody will be interested. Next thing, the man, like, he got her like nice things. They entered the car, they even entered flights. She was really happy, only for her to go to the airport, and next thing the man handed her over to somebody else, and that was the last she ever saw of him. God. That was how for 21 years she was in that until she was able to, they were able to find them. And even at that, and even at that, when she even like they rescued her, she said most of these organizations will just be trying to carry your matter, like they push your story more than yourself, like they don't care about you, they just care more about your story just for the money they get from donations. So this is a really, really like issues that these problems, like you wonder like why is this thing happening? You get like why are we having this amount? Like they said for $99 billion is $99 billion, not even naira, is being estimated to be made annually through sex trafficking. this is just a form of the human trafficking,
not like the
sex
whole
trafficking.
body.
They said 4.5 million people throughout the world are victims of forced sexual exploitation. Like they traffic you, and like the money they rake in, and people that are involved in all of this. Do you know how many lives you are wrecking in the purpose of like human trafficking?
Do you know how you make these people feel?
Do you get
Their mental health?
Because
already,
she said
already
like physically she's okay. The woman that leads the organization, she said physically she's okay, but like emotionally she still have triggers and nightmares all the time, because you don't know what they went through there. And then you now wonder like what are the risk factors? What what causes this thing? Why do people find themselves in this situation? I think look at the fact that there's no awareness. You mentioned earlier that most of the things that happen are from people that they know.
You
get, so now you're not even you will never ever think of the fact that this person will ever do this to me. You get, and this person will ever be in a position to actually put me in danger. Because most of them are like probably far relatives. They feel like they will just
people
take
that
you
they
there.
know, obviously.
You get, and tell you, seize your passport and tell you have to work for this duration, before you can be released. And the next thing, you're trapped. Like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to leave the situation? Because everybody believes that you are in good hands.
Exactly.
Even sometimes when you even call your parents and tell them like, mommy, like maybe when you find a way to even reach out and say that this is what is happening, they don't believe you, because that person is maybe even sending home
money,
yes, and telling you this is what your daughter is bringing. Meanwhile, you're out there suffering. It's not
exactly
nice.
Like it's just by people that you trust. So like there's not much awareness about it. Like I feel like there should be like a lot of sensitization.
Yes,
that will make people know that okay, this is how to know when you're being trafficked. This is how to suspect. Because a lot of people just feel like, well, at least you're taking me out of the country.
Yeah.
At least I was reading an article and then it said that trafficking doesn't necessarily mean that they're taking you out of the country. You can just be within the same state. You can just be within the same community, but they're taking you out of your comfort zone, safe space or something. So imagine being in the same state, or imagine being in the same area, the same country,
environment you're trying to run away from.
Like you don't have access to communication, access to good life, and I can only imagine how this must feel.
Even look at the lack of legitimate economic opportunity that is for even some people are aware that this is what they are going to do out. Like some people are aware that like this is what's happened. That if I go, they are probably going to enter into prostitution or something. But they feel like, what am I even doing here? Do you get like what jobs are available for me to do here? Let me just go there, forgetting that probably the means of you even getting there was not even favorable. Some people have died just in the process of going to that country. Maybe you are trying to get to Italy, you are following, they are taking you through, but people are trekking and everything. And then they find themselves there. And they say that this is not even as rosy as I thought too.
Yeah, they say the grass is not always greener on the other side.
Yet, and all these things, including poverty too. Like, father, poverty is already a standard for people to get traffic. For people to get traffic, because when you meet people, with like a better chance, a better life option, you just give them something that on the normal day should be little, but because this is the highest they can ever see, and you promise them that there's a better life
promise
for
a better future. And
they are deep, like
imagine,
just go.
Like I said earlier, imagine somebody that probably is doing something and then they don't probably feel recognized in their society or in their community. Somebody brings you an offer, you grab it. And we can't exactly blame these people, really. Also, demand for cheap labor. You're talking about where they say your family member just takes you and this one and that one. So people don't just want to pay for labor or services that are offered. And then some of these people actually buy the children or buy the people. They just buy you and then you work and then they start paying.
You get. And they actually put you in unfavorable conditions. Like little thing, pack all of you in one room, people are working. And these things, like, it has really huge effect on both the person traffic, like, and the family at large. First of all, you lose your freedom.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing they underrate. Like they feel like, oh, let me just go, let me just leave. But the thing is, when you reach there, you don't have even your papers. Like, you don't have any identity. Of course,
most of them are being
seized. You cannot even walk. You cannot even go out of the house. You can't walk
exactly
on your own, because if they catch you, like, once they ask you where are your papers, you don't even have them. You cannot even meet anybody because you don't even know anybody. You're already locked somewhere.
Like, exactly. You're like in a different place entirely.
And then they even like face physical and sexual violence, both from the persons that traffics them and even the people they meet there. Look at the numbers. I mentioned 4.5 million people are being exploited. Like, there are a lot of things that these people face there, things that they cannot even forget.
Harm is just being done to them.
And
physical injuries, diseases, like so many things. Some of them they beat them.
Yeah.
So they put them in like conditions like they just maltreat them.
Yeah.
Basically. So imagine coming out and maybe for the ones that are being saved, coming out with scars or maybe wounded, maybe your legs are being amputated or like something bad just happens to you. How do you live the rest of your life with that? Which also brings me to suicide. A lot of them just for the few of them that don't get killed wherever they're trafficked to, they just when they come out they just lose this sense of belonging. They're like, what else can I do with my life?
Yeah.
Especially for those that were seeking for a better future. So in their heads they're just like,
yeah, and talk about even the mental problems they go through, the PTSD, the nightmares, the fact that now some of them cannot even sleep. These are people that were even repatriated back to their homes, or these people cannot even sleep properly. And I see that like these things are actually issues that people are actually like shedding light on. The international organizations are paying attention to them, and that's why like these conversations are really, really important, because now when people talk about how bad this is, how best you can actually know that somebody, not just anybody that walks up to you has your interest at heart. Even if this person is like your close friend or even your relative, you have to like investigate into knowing what this person is actually doing and understanding that, okay, this is something that you really need to work on and actually understand. But when we come back from our break, we'll be talking more about how best we can solve these issues and other international organization findings on human trafficking. Stay with us.
A beautiful welcome back to the Timeline podcast. Before the break, we were discussing human trafficking. We spoke about the elements of human trafficking, factors that could lead to human trafficking, and the impacts that human trafficking has on the individual, the survivors, the family, and the society at large. And right about now, Jennifer and I will be discussing the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime report on trafficking in persons 2022. Findings 1 says that number of detected victims fall for the first time in 20 years as pandemic limits opportunities and potentially pushes trafficking further underground while constraining law enforcement capacities to target the crime. Jennifer.
So now like the crime reduced, but then the chances of them getting these traffickers have also decreased because
exactly.
people are now gone underground. That's a lot. Trafficking for the finding number 2 says trafficking for sexual exploitation less detected during the pandemic.
Of course, people were at home. People were at home, so like
because I mentioned before the break that the number for sexual exploitation, 4.5 million people are being trafficked.
That means it could have been higher if the pandemic was not.
Then we also have the fact that victims rely on self-rescue as anti-trafficking responses fall short. That's finding number 3.
Then finding number 4 says global slowdown in convictions accelerated during the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, increased impunity in home countries resulting in more victims trafficking to more destinations. Jennifer.
That's finding number 5.
Yeah.
Then finding number 6, war and conflict offer hunting grounds for traffickers. And that's like something that, once there's war, there's already like the law enforcement agencies.
Yeah.
So these people find it very easy
to just
come
take
and
people,
take
abduct them.
Yeah.
Also, climate change is multiplying trafficking risks.
And then finding number 8, boys and men account for a greater share of detected victims as new forms of exploitation emerge.
Remember that we said earlier before the break that women and children are like
the ones that are more trafficked, but now even
find
this boys, that boys and men
boys are being trafficked. Then the next one, just like I was saying, women and children suffer greater violence at the hands of traffickers because obviously they are vulnerable.
Yeah, and then the fact that finding number 10, more highly organized traffickers exploit more victims more violently and for longer periods of time. As like the ones that they've already carefully planned. Now there's like different grades of the violence, like
for them, like specifically for them. Then the last finding number 11 says women more likely than men to be traffickers or more likely than men to be convicted.
It's even a question because they're asking us now.
They're asking us, is it that
more likely than men to? Are the men the traffickers?
Yeah.
Or are they likely more men to be convicted?
To be trafficked. That's right. I'm very, very glad that at least there has been a report done, so at least people can be aware, because I feel like that is the whole essence.
And I'm sure even in the purpose of this finding, there would have been a lot of cases they would have noticed, or a lot of things that would have been caught, like the fact that they are doing research, so now they're investigating into the things that happen, and they'll even be getting more traffickers and repatriating more
people that have been trafficked. Yeah. Also, amongst other agencies that have been giving reports on trafficking in persons, the United States Department of States 2023 Trafficking Report from the Office to Monitor and Combat Trafficking in Person. Jennifer, do you mind to tell us the first?
Okay, that's prosecution.
Yes.
And this is like what is Nigeria doing? Because we feel like Nigeria, this is where everything is happening, and like what are they even doing to combat human trafficking? But they've actually been working really hard, because there's prosecute, like the fact that you said the 3 P's. So now for the prosecution, these efforts included investigating more traffickers, including officials allegedly complicit in trafficking crimes, and increasing prosecutions and convictions. They identified more victims and referred all identified victims to care, and finalized and implemented the handover protocol to refer child soldiers, including some trafficked victims, to also care. And they collaborated with, the UK Joint Border Task Force to make sure that they stop all anti-trafficking operations, and those that were caught were prosecuted accordingly.
I like the fact that they're actually prosecuted. It's not a matter of, you were prosecuted, but then they just catch them and tell them, don't do that again, or just take them to jail for like a few years. I like the fact that actually things are being done to
and
make
they're
sure that
collaborating with international
agencies.
They also collaborated, that's the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Person, NAPTIP. They've collaborated with governments, including those of Cambodia, Ghana, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Mali, and Senegal, to repatriate trafficking victims.
This is just, in fact, it's a very, very nice one. Yeah, the second P is protection. They seek to protect the people that have been repatriated.
Yeah.
Like when they see that you have been trafficked, or maybe you are able to escape, they make sure that they take care of you. They give you proper guidance. You're probably taken to therapy, or maybe for the ones that were going there in search of a greener pasture, they equip them with skills, they equip them with new jobs and all of that, so that at least they can be able to blend well into the society and make a living for themselves.
Even to add to that, the government also increased efforts to identify victims. The government identified 1,634 trafficking victims, including 841 sex trafficking victims, 543 labor trafficking victims, and 250 victims of unspecified forms of trafficking. And then to add to that, the government also supported NGO provided services to all these 1,634 victims. So now, not like they got them back, and also made sure that they gave them the right support they needed. Because most of them, they put them in like therapy, like it covers all of them, but some of them went through different stages of this trafficking, and there are different ways to handle it, and they're actually making sure. And then for the last P, that's the prevention. The government increased efforts to prevent human trafficking. The National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Person, NAPTIP, continued to lead the federal government's efforts to combat trafficking. Although officials from the Ministry of Defense, Justice, Foreign Affairs, Labour and Productivity, Women Affairs all had responsibilities in supporting the country's response to human trafficking, they continued implementing different laws to make sure that this does not happen. Because now it's not longer about, like, they recognize that there's a problem, so they're trying to prevent more from happening. Which is really, really great that Nigeria is actually like putting in efforts, and they're also working with other international agencies, because it's a global problem. And if we work with other people to get rid of us, they're also working with us.
The numbers will definitely reduce. Before I said it was a 3P, but then they added a 4th P, which is partnership. And in this partnership, like you said, they're collaborating with other governments, other agencies. They collaborate with interagencies, NGOs and all of that. They partner with survivors, like survivors of the crime, to help them identify other trafficked people. Because, like, for instance, the baby factory, for instance, they can, maybe one person was able to escape successfully. You can help them to identify maybe the location, or the people that you saw there, or how they looked, or something like that. So like they partner with the survivors of human trafficking now, in order to make other people to help them as well.
These things are really paying forward, because now we saw that the NAPTIP rescued 470 victims of human trafficking. So it means that all their efforts are actually coming out, like there's
it is beautiful that all hands are on deck. Also, the USDOS, the United States Department of States, they partner with civil societies and other external stakeholders. They partner with other organizations and other countries to further investigation. They have partnerships to address cross-border trafficking, rather. That means they go from border to border and tell them and sensitize them. I was reading an article actually, and then they actually sensitize them and tell them, from the people that were saved, or from the people that were repatriated back to their country or back to their community, they have told us how to identify these people. For people that had information on the traffickers, they told them, this is what to note right? If people are traveling in group and then one person
ask questions,
ask the right questions. They created awareness for that.
The government also provided victim witness assistance for victims participating in the investigation and prosecution of trafficking case. You mentioned that they partner with people that successfully escaped. So you know that these people are already in danger. Like the fact that they are already like you escaped is already one, and then now like you're helping in catching them. So they make sure that they protect you by providing security. They provide victim advocates, temporary immigration relief, travel and lodging assistance. So the government reported that 60 victims participated in criminal justice proceedings and received services. So in response to this pandemic, courts sometimes use videos to collect testimony and allow witnesses in other jurisdictions to give evidence in criminal trials. So yes, like I like that there are a lot of
everybody's
going on. Yes, and that even
working.
People that are helping they're actually making sure that they stay protected too, because it's not a right thing that somebody would, because the person could have escaped and just stayed at home and gone through
without telling anybody. But like they're actually helping the society.
People. So you see that most of the people that are in this traffic situation, because you see a lot of times they just be like this person was trafficked, and you're like, oh, the person, why would the person go? What's the person running away from? Because I remember watching a video where they were showing us people that illegally migrated, and most of them were like, they had to leave. They were talking, and somebody at my back was like, who sent them? Why did they not stay in the country? It's not all of us that are suffering together.
Some of them are just
no sympathy.
Yes.
And now you see that these people, most of them are actually good people. They just found themselves in circumstances like this, it's not their fault. They are just there, and still when they are caught, when they successfully escape, they actually make efforts to get to help out of it. And that's a really good thing. I see that human trafficking is actually a global problem that really needs to be looked at globally, and luckily we have a lot of international agencies, and then even here in Nigeria we have agencies that you can actually report to when they are like, when you see yourself in situations like that. I've been mentioning NAPTIP, and that's the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. These are people that you can meet, you can send complaints to them anonymously, so you don't need to even go there. Then you have the Nigerian Police Force. These people are also working very hard through sensitization. I'm sure that there will be other people working extremely hard.
Exactly. Also, we have the United States Department of States. I've cited them a lot in this video. And we also have the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and also the Nigerian Immigration Services. First off, a big thumbs up to Nigeria, because like, to be very honest, I think we can say that a lot of Nigerian citizens have. We just feel like Nigeria does not really care about their citizens.
I mean, they can do better, but they're actually trying really hard.
You get, like, at least we're seeing, even I think it was the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, UNODC, that actually reported and said that Nigeria is in tier 2. Right?
Tier 2,
exactly. Like, they're actually like doing something, right? All hands are on deck, and they're trying to make sure they're doing everything possible, partnering with people to make sure that this whole menace is being brought down to the barest minimum.
And I'm sure with extra measures being put in place, everything will actually, like, this problem will be reduced to the barest minimum.
That would not even have to search through the news and then see that, oh, some people were saved, some people were repatriated, some people, or harsh things happened to people, or something like that. It's very, very beautiful.
So thumbs up Nigeria, and thumbs up to other countries that are working very, very hard, in getting rid of this menace. And this is where we draw the curtains on today's episode. Don't forget to keep the comments respectful as usual, and then follow us on our social media handles at
Healed Network.
I am Jennifer Egenti.
I am Precious Jacob.
I'll be seeing you soon. Bye.